Thanks everybody for joining us. It'll be a fun show. First, we wanted to do this because it's been a while since we've done what we like to call success porn. Oh yeah, success porn. You guys know it. You love it. And so, success porn, for those of you who've never seen our show, isn't just sexy saxophone music. It's a lot of these guys online that are the how to get rich guys. Like the one we used to make fun of all the time, Dave Ramsey, which we're going to have to do a show about soon because he's retiring.
What?
Yeah, probably to avoid the lawsuit that he's facing. But a lot of these guys, they'll get up there and they do this how to be rich thing. And they're not always wrong or bad, but you got to remember, the reason they're rich is because they're selling you the idea that they can teach you how to be rich. And you're buying it. That's how they became rich.
They didn't get rich doing a thing other than telling you how to be rich.
For the most part, yeah. Some of them got rich otherwise, but yeah.
Or not, I have no idea what their story is, but...
Yeah, it depends on the guy. But at the same time, it's one of those things where if there was some mystery or secret or some way to be rich, they would either A, not tell you, because they'd keep it to themselves, or B, they'd just tell you. And they wouldn't charge you. You know why they wouldn't charge you? Because they'd already be rich. They wouldn't need to charge you. But that's how they make their money. So this is one of those guys. I'm not saying he's bad or wrong. I'm just saying he's one of those guys. He wrote a book called How to Get Rich. So he's not even hiding it. It's a total success story. And he's got a show on Netflix called How to Get Rich or How to Be Rich or whatever.
I think I Can Teach You to Be Rich, or is that his blog?
I don't know. We can look at it. But all of his... I've gone through his YouTube. All of it's How to Get Rich. Yeah, it's How to Get Rich is the name of the show. I'll teach you to be rich. I will teach you to be rich. Money for couples. And he's got all of his books here and everything. But anyway, he's watching some TikTok videos and they're talking about investing. And I watched some of this and it's not like it's terrible. It's not great advice, but it's not terrible. But he kind of skips the beat a little bit. And I just want to go over this because we've covered this kind of stuff before and I just wanted to hit this one more time.
Economy in history, you will actually believe it. I have created videos before showing you actual data of how good this economy is, and I just get thousands of people coming and telling me, Ramit, you're so out of touch. Mr. Millionaire doesn't have any relatability to anyone. No, I'm actually reading the data, and I'm showing you what's going on with the median household and median person in America, including the fact that low-wage earners have seen their income go up more than any other group in the last few years, including beating inflation. My point is, don't...
That's recently, by the way. Years? No, that's recently since COVID. It's less than a year. It's like a year and a half, maybe.
So there's not much on that.
Right. So it's one of those things where, okay, yeah, I'm finally beating inflation after 30 years. I've been doing it for the last 12 months or so. Fucking time to buy a Maserati. Because now I'm making fucking 20 cents or $1 more an hour, whatever it is. So it just cracks me up. I'm not out of touch because the economy's great, and so therefore everybody must be great, which isn't the case. And then look how great it is. Your wages have finally gone up after 30 years of being flat. So everything must be good.
The last year or two, you've finally gotten a raise that beats inflation, but for the past 30 years, none of you have. So clearly that means you've caught up, right?
Right. It's not like...
No, you're still clearly behind because of all those previous years.
Yeah, it's not like we're looking at the data and going, you're making a lot less than your parents were at your age for doing the same job. Yeah, so once again, I'm looking at the data, I'm not out of touch, and then he says something incredibly out of touch. That the data even disproves kind of what he's saying. Because it hasn't been long enough to make a difference. But we'll get back into it because this is just crazy to me.
Don't simply post stuff like this. You may think you've won, but ultimately you've lost. damn, that video was really good. But the comments piss me off, man. Let's look at the next video.
This is the one thing that I wish I knew about investing when I was in my 20s, and that is time. The difference between you and me and someone like Warren Buffett, sure, maybe a couple $1 billion, but the biggest difference is Warren Buffett is 93 years old.
True.
And he started investing at the age of 11, which means Warren...
Okay, already I love this video. Already, this is so true and so underappreciated. The idea...
Okay, couple things. Time value of money is important to understand. The longer you have to invest, the more it can compound, the more money you can make over time. Time is an asset. Important thing. I don't know that I'd be using Warren Buffett as an example, because Warren Buffett, even though he has been investing for 82 years, Warren Buffett made all of his money, his billions and whatnot. Well, now he's grown it to billions, but he made his initial seed money, because the other part of that is you have to have money to grow.
Right. The old phrase, you can't squeeze blood out of a turnip.
Right.
You know, I mean,
Yeah.
there is something, you do literally have to have something to put in.
Right. If I start with $1 million to invest and Lacey starts with 100, yeah, she's going to get a good rate of return, but she's not going to make nearly as much money as I am. Because I'm making 10%. Let's say I make 10% on $1 million. So what am I making? 100 or 100,000?
And probably not quitting my job off my 100.
Yeah, she's making $10. I'm making 10,000.
Right.
Right. So that's just the thing where it's just not realistic what he's saying. Or 100,000 off of $1 million. My bad. But the other thing about Warren Buffett that you need to understand is Warren Buffett did everything he did by leveraging. So what he would do initially is he would borrow the money or the assets. He'd invest it, right, short term, make the money, and then he would pay back that loan. So he wasn't investing his own money. He was entirely leveraged. Now, a lot of people do that and fail. Warren Buffett just happened to be the one guy in 1 million that got lucky.
Right.
Right? So there's a couple factors we're missing here. One is it's time value of money. Right? You have to have the money first, and you have to have the time to sit and watch it grow. You know, and it helps if your friends are loaning you $20 million to invest.
Yeah, true. Also true.
Which is how Warren Buffett did it. But yeah, there's a couple factors he's missing. But I just wanted to get that. He's right, time value of money is important. But the other part is just a weird example.
That if you start investing early and you give yourself a long time horizon, you just keep investing consistently in a simple index fund, you'll be very, very wealthy. Now, note that
You won't be very, very wealthy.
I love how they all think index fund is literally the secret to getting rich. I'm not saying index funds are bad, and quite frankly, I really do think they're a good way to go for a beginner that's not going to do all of their homework on individual stocks and things like that.
Well, if you're young, so they're cheap.
I'm not pushing back against an index fund per se, but yeah, this is sounding like very one size fits all, suddenly you're rich sort of commentary.
Well, and you're not going to get rich investing in an index fund. Not unless you have 80 years. Or you have a shit ton of money and there's no recession.
Right. A lot of time or a lot of capital, either way.
Right. You got to have one or the other first. You know? So he's just being ridiculous.
most common response to this is like, not all of us could start investing when we're 11. I agree. Okay, I started investing at 14. I was very fortunate.
Yeah, that's the most common response. The most common response is probably, I don't have that much money to invest.
My dad helped me open up a custodial Roth IRA. It was great. However, maybe you didn't start investing at age 14 like a freak. Fine. Maybe you started at 25. Maybe you started at 30. Some people start at 40. Some people start even later. But the important thing is you start today and you understand your numbers. The point of this is not to berate anyone for starting late in life. We're here today. We can't change what happened in the past. But what we can understand is that time is one of the most important factors in how much money you have. But you can change your time horizon by starting.
Not necessarily. There's two factors. The money you invest and the time you have to let it grow. He skips the first factor. I have to have money in the first place. That's the thing that kills me about these get-rich-quick dipshits. Or just listen to me and you'll be rich. It's just crazy. It's like you're forgetting you got to invest the money first.
Right.
I'm not saying you shouldn't. I'm not saying he's wrong on that. I'm just saying he's emphasizing the wrong thing. The right thing is to start thinking about, okay, how much money can I start to invest? Where do I want to get to? What's that going to take? That's how you figure that shit out. You don't do it by just, well, I have all the time in the world. I'm 20, so if I put $1 in today, I'm fucking good to go. I mean, it doesn't work that way.
Starting right now and investing for the long term. Let's keep going.
Which means Warren Buffett has been investing for 82 years. Let's say, for example, you did the same thing. At the age of 11, you somehow had $500 a month
Hell
to
yeah.
put into a low-cost market index fund. Well, after 82 years, if you continue putting in $500 a month, you'd have $41 million.
This shit is bomb. That's all.
Okay.
Well,
You
if
want-
I had an 11-year-old with a $500 a month allowance to invest, I mean, this 11-year-old already is in the top, I don't know what percent. I don't know. Okay, there are many adults that I know that do not have $500 a month to invest beyond, paying their bills, unfortunately. So to reduce that to an 11-year-old that has $500 a month to invest feels like sheer insanity.
Well, and he'll get his 81, or she'll get their $81 million in 82 years. They're 93 years old. Because you can't dip into that money if you want it to grow to 41 million. You can't spend any money. They tell you another thing that these guys never tell you, which is, it's true. Financial advisors, it's a smart financial advisor to tell you this. You can't spend hard currency in hell. Your money's no good when you're dead. Not to you. So, it's just, these guys, it's all about, I want to accumulate all this money. To do what? It's so anti-capitalist, it doesn't make sense to me. As a business person, right? I need to raise all this money. Why? Because I'm investing in a business. Because I'm investing in my retirement. There has to be a goal here. It's just crazy shit.
Awesome. $41 million for $500 a month. That's not even.
For 82 years.
Starting at 11.
At
You're
11.
$500 a month to invest.
Average life expectancy is 86, but you're going to make it.
And you probably have parents that have the financial understanding and knowledge to figure out how to open you either a brokerage account or some sort of like a custodial IRA, something. Like, how many people's parents have any clue about that stuff to be able to do that?
Not many.
Alone can give $500 allowances to their 11-year-olds. Please.
Yeah, I mean, that's a lot of money. It's $6,000 a year. So, anyway, we'll get into that in a second.
Even that much over the grand scheme of a lifetime. Now, it is a lot for an 11-year-old, even a 15, 16, in some cases a 20-year-old, fine. But, somebody who's earning median wage as they get older and older and older, or they have a dual income, that is achievable for sure. So, yeah, all right, maybe let's drop it down by half. Okay, 20 million instead of 40 million. That's still a ton of money. This video is great so far.
But let's be honest. Who at the age of 11 is investing $500 a month? Let's say instead you started at 21 and you lived until 93. For
think the same.
72 years, $500 a month into the
Hell
market,
yeah.
that's still $19 million.
I literally love this guy.
Okay. I hate to be morbid, but also average.
But once again, you're 93 and you didn't spend any of that money. You can't take it with you. This is just, there's a portion where it's like the math is an interesting hypothetical, but when you apply it to a real world scenario, it's freaking worthless.
Yeah, it's, I mean, I guess I don't blame Ramit Sethi for saying I love this guy because he's taking you through the math in a pretty great way, but it doesn't actually apply to real life very well at all.
Not at all.
Because first of all, he starts off with an 11-year-old that's got $500 a month, not just $500 once from birthday money, $500 every month, and now he's obviously saying, hey, I recognize that's not practical, so let's move the age up. Okay, that's more practical, but let's go to the other end. Are you really investing all that until you're 93? Even if you don't have to stop and take the money out, at the point at which you retire, are you still literally having $500 a month to keep putting in?
Right. Well, no, you'd be working till 93. That's the assumption here. Now,
right.
I'll give you a simple one. Part of the reason they pick $500 a month, and this is why a lot of people do it, is because if you invest $500 a month for 30 years, and you get 10% interest, which right now the market's average about 8. So 10's a little ambitious, but let's say you get 10, you'd have $1 million after 30 years. So I started at 30, did $500 a month. By the time I was 60, I'd have $1 million. What they don't tell you about that is this. So let's factor in inflation, and let's do that in today's dollars. So that $1 million 30 years from now that I've made, in today's dollars, with the equivalent today, with the spending power, is about $350,000. That's what they never tell you. Oh, I'll make you a millionaire in 30 years, but that million is only worth about $350,000 a day. People have to remember, money goes down in value over time. It works both ways. You invest and it'll grow over time if you invest it, but just money itself, because of inflation, goes down in value over time.
Right, the cost of goods and services went up, so your dollars don't have quite as much power as they did.
Right, so yeah, that 41 million, let's say, let me just do that real quick. 41 million, and that's, let's say, 82 years, and let's say, that's about $2 million today. 2.5. That's nice, but it's not 41 million today. In today's dollars, it's 2.5 million today. So, once again, they're not giving you the whole story, right? So, just to give you a sense of what it is, boys and girls. But we'll want to get into another couple quick things, then we'll move on. But
average life expectancy in the U.S. is only 77. So from 21
Not for me. I'm going to live forever so I can see my investment returns go way high.
to 77, 56 years. If you did the exact same thing, you'd only have $5.5 million. Now, I say only because relative to the other sums, it's low, but do you see how much of a difference time makes to go from 5 million upwards of 40 million
Already, like, we could be best friends. You can tell, right? He's using the exact same examples I'm using.
just by being in the market? That's the biggest secret, folks. Start early and be
all right,
consistent.
totally approved. Double thumbs up on this video. Nice work. Before I go on, let me just look at the comments to make sure there's no deranged losers in there. Hold on. I'm glad I saw this. Wow, that's the top comment. I'm glad you saw it. Oh, God. Okay, one other comment that came up. Bruh, what you gonna do with 5 mil when 100K is going to be worth like $100 at that time? Skeleton icon. Let me explain something to you once. I was going to say once and for all, but I'm going to explain this for the rest of my godforsaken life. Listen, people, whenever people come to me and they go, Ramit, why are you talking about having $4 million? By the time 30 years from now, that's going to be worth 70 cents. We won't even be able to eat a Mexican meal outside. My calculations already factor inflation in. Do you understand the difference between nominal and real returns? No, of course you don't. All you know how to do is when you see a percentage sign and $1 million sign, you come out from wherever it is that someone summoned you, like the bat signal, and you go, hey, what about inflation? Stop posting.
okay. Well, that guy wasn't using real return. He was using nominal return. So, I mean, maybe you do, but if we're using nominal return to get to, let's say to get to $1 million, let's do my hypothetical before, $1 million, you're saving, what was it, what did I say, $500 a month. And you're getting 10%, but we got to subtract inflation, which averages 3.7. So you figure you're getting 6.3% return over 30 years. How much would you have to save? Whoops. I'm sorry. You'd have to save over $500 a month. Yeah. You'd have to save quite a bit. You have to save $1,000 a month. I'm sorry, my bad. To get to $1 million. And even then, that million, once again, in today's dollars, is still only worth $350,000. So there's your real return on $1,000 a month. I'm not saying don't invest, you should invest. It's a good idea. It's how you beat inflation, and it's how you make some money on top of that. But the idea that you're going to get rich doing this over time is not practical. The way people get rich is they get rich by making money, by investing in buying and selling businesses or real estate or things like that. That's how rich people get rich. And you have to have money to do that. Just like you have to have money to invest. So, I mean, he's just being unrealistic. The other thing he talked about was median wage. And he talks about this a little bit, and I wanted to get into this because it just cracks me up. Because he says median wage is $75,000 a year, roughly. That's household median wage. That's for two people, two adults in a household. Median wage for a single person is only about $50. We've covered this many times before. Now, if you're talking about saving $500 a month, just to be realistic for a second, let's go to a tax calculator real quick. So this is already the median wage for an individual. For a single person. It already does this automatically. And I just, Salem, Oregon is just where it is. Filing status single. So just their federal income tax plus their FICA, which is Social Security, this is assuming your boss is paying half and you're an independent contractor, is $8,000. Okay? That's not including your state tax. And this we include the state tax for Oregon, right? So the marginal tax rate, effective tax rate. So the total income tax is around 23%. Right? So $11,600 is what you paid in tax. Your take home is $39,000. Let's call it 40 to make it easy on everybody. $40,000 a year is what your take home is. So that means your take home per month is $3,300. Okay? Well, now let's go to this. What is the average rent? Because you got to have a place to stay. Rent, mortgage, right? What's the average? Let's see. Here's apartments.com. This is theirs. For average rent is about $1,500 a month. That's for a 1-bedroom. Right? If it's a 2-bedroom, it's about $18. If it's a 3-bedroom, you're looking at about $22.
But let's because we're doing this on a single income, let's assume a single person that only does a 1-bedroom.
Let's say 1-bedroom, $1,500. Okay? So $1,500 a month. And you're at $3,300 is your take home. So that's minus $1,500. Now you've got $1,800 left. That covers all your bills, utilities, phone bill, if you've got cable, internet, electricity, well, utilities, right? You have to have a car. If not, public transit, food.
You got, an education beyond high school. Yeah.
Student loans, do you have medical debt, credit card debt, any insurance you got to pay, renter's insurance, car insurance, $1,800 to cover all that. Where are you going to find an extra $500? That's all gone. You're probably barely making by. And that's median income. So that's half of all working people make that or less. Median income doesn't mean most people or an average amount of people are making 50. It means 50 is the middle mark. Half of the country makes less than that. That or less. So this is even the high end when we're talking about median income for the bottom 50%. So he's not being practical. And even then, if you want to talk about the bottom 90%, we're making under less than 90,000 a year, or 100,000, whatever it is. But it's right in there. The top 10% are people making over six figures. That's the problem. The other article I wanted to get into, because when he's talking about this, okay, where you have to dig up this money from somewhere. This was an interesting one I got from CBS, where they did an article, the salary a single person needs to live comfortably in 25 major U.S. cities. This is the salary you would need to make in a year. And they break it down, but they figure it out. To live comfortably, right here, as a single person in 99 of the largest U.S. metro areas, this is cities, I mean, so it's probably cheaper in rural areas, but if you want to live in a city, you need a median income of $93,933, so $94,000, according to a recent Smart Asset analysis. They're looking at different cities. Here's an income a single person needs to live comfortably in the 25 U.S. cities with the highest cost of living. So these are the highest expensive.
Wait, what does it say for New York? That's my city.
New York,
what does it say?
140, 138.
Oh, God.
But they're factoring in a lot of things here. Right. But that's what we're talking about when we get down to it. So, I mean, these are the high ends. But even if we're doing the averages about 93, even in like a rural town, you probably need 65 or 70. And median's 50. So, once again, it's success porn. It's just, listen to me and I'll make you rich. But then he skips all this other data. And even the data he does show you, he cherry picks. Why? Because it doesn't feed into his narrative of I can make you rich. And then when people point that out, he throws a tantrum. Because that guy pointed out, he's like, oh, see, that guy makes a great point. Time value of money. Ignores the fact that we're talking about Warren Buffett, who leveraged all of his cash. Right? And then when a guy points out, well, yeah, but there's inflation. Well, I factored that in. Not in that instance, it wasn't factored in. And even if you factor it in, it's not as good as you're saying it's going to be.
Right.
Not even by a stretch of the imagination. So it's just ridiculous. Once again, it's by my book. That's all he's doing. So that was just go ahead.
If you factored it in, you need to clarify that with your audience and explain where that fits in too, because people are going to have that question and should have that question, you know?
Well, we figured it out. If we factor in inflation into a growth rate of 10%, which the market's not even doing 10, it's doing an average of 8 over the last 20 years. All right? But if we factored in 10, we were generous. And then we factored in average inflation. Right? We figured you'd have to save $1,000 a month to have $1 million 30 years from now, and that's equivalent to $350,000 today. He's not being realistic. That's why if you get employer matching, 401k, you got to do all that. That's why you need things like Social Security too. That's why you need to factor in all this stuff going forward. And what am I going to live on and how can I afford? You have to have goals and targets of what you're going to spend. It's not just about accumulating money. It's about what am I going to use it for? What do I need it for? How much am I going to need to do these things? You need to hit a goal. You spend too much time. That's the problem with these guys. Is I have all this money. Well, that's yippee-ki-yay, man. You and what, 5% of the population? What about the other 95%? Oh, they just have to listen to me and they'll be rich too. Then why aren't they rich already? You're not the only guy doing this. You're not the first guy to do this shit. So I mean, it's just unrealistic. You know, we're not promising to make you rich. We're promising to help you try to be stable and get control of your finances and get control of your life, which I think is the bigger, more important goal. We're not saying we can do it for you. We're not saying we're always right, but at least we can point you in the right direction. As opposed to, if you listen to me, I'll make you a millionaire. Yeah, in 30 years when it's only worth $350,000. So once again, it's a bait and switch. It's pork pies and a bag of trout. It's not real. So anyway, I just wanted to cover that. We'll do more success porn going forward for you guys. So